Yeah, I was born right here in Tulare, 1933, out here on the ranch, same place we're at right now, and raised here, lived here almost all my life. Father died when I was 3 years old, so I never even got to know him. Never knew what farming was like. My brothers helped my mother some until World War II started. But I had a little bit of experience when I was young. Uh, a tragic experience one time. I don't know what age I was, but it was 4 or 5 years old, and I crushed my left hip. Spent months and months in the hospital with, they tell me, I remember laying there. I had a cast from my hip to my toes. Finally took it off. I had to learn to walk again, and the doctor said water therapy was the best thing in the world for me. So that's where I got to start swimming at a real young age. Any pond, any pool, any puddle, anything, why, they got me in it, and I got my exercise in swimming. And then I got a chance to one experience in farming before the war broke out. My brothers need somebody to drive a wagon, hauling shocked hay to the barn. So I got the job at 7 or 8 years old of driving that wagon. The wagon was sold by our tool mules, old Tobe and Zyke. And I was real thrilled as an 8-year-old to be able to drive that wagon and run Tobe and Zyke. And the only problem is the first time we turned to go to the barn, I asked him if I could drive it to the barn. They said, well, you drove in the field, you did all right. Yeah, you can drive to the barn, but be careful. Well, I thought I was, but I reined a little too tight on the turn and tipped the wagon on the side. And I guarantee you, if my brothers got through with me, I never turned that wagon over again. The war came out, and mother had to lease out her land, and my brother went in the Marine Air Corps. So that was my experience in farming as a young boy. Even though we lived on the ranch, I didn't know really what it was. I didn't drove tractors or anything else. In 1940, my mother married Brooks Gist, a well-known historian and a master of the Sierra Nevadas. And so as I grew up in some of the younger years, I got a chance to get back in the backcountry with Brooks and see the Sierra Nevadas and get to know them. And his partner gave me some experience maybe as a young boy growing up, a chance to get on a tractor and drive it, and a few things like that city kids, I was kind of like a city kid. Even though I lived in the country, I never got a chance to do anything of that nature. And then as I grew up in grammar school, what have you, your neighbor might be a mile and a half, 2 miles away, but on a bicycle in the country, that's nothing. And so, I got a chance to do so with some neighbors. I got 4-H at 10 years of age and bought myself a Western Holstein heifer with the help of my grandpa. And got up in high school, get ready to get out of high school, and I was kind of determined. My mother, I knew, helped my brothers through college, and she did a lot for all of us, and I just going to be determined I was going to go to college and not have to ask my mother to help me because she had a lot of financial burdens. I was offered scholarships different places, but I had scholarships at different places for basketball. It was college, and I was always one at Cal Poly, and Cal Poly was a natural place for me to go to. I kind of thought I wanted to get into farming and get some education on it, and I had my cows. I could put them in a project dairy over there, and they'd help supplement my college education and basketball scholarship, and maybe a little job I could make it on my own. So I took my cows over there. I had 3 mountain cows at that time. Took them all to project dairy, and Cal Poly I went. So I went out for water polo, and I played water polo. And Morro Bay, we'd swim out around the tankers after swim workouts. I swam in El Segundo, swim out around the tankers and come back. That was just. Then I got a call from. I got home and my brother was there, and the Korean War had broke out, and he had orders to ship out immediately. And he said, "You're going to have to come back and farm it for me." Well, you can't tell Big Brother no. So I left school, brought my cows back, and started taking care of his ranch for him and some others. Great thing about it, I said, is the fact that when I came back, that Christmas, my sweetheart in high school came back from Cal for Christmas with her folks, and I asked her if she'd marry me. She said yes, and so in April that year, on the 26th of April, we got married. So together, she worked at the bank, and I was working for my brother, taking care of his ranch. But I said, no more of this. I want to try it on my own. I had to have a prefix for my dairy cattle, the registered Holsteins. That was Tula Vista. So we incorporated and filed a fictitious nameplate with the county to operate under fictitious name Tula Vista Farms. So that was the start of Tula Vista Farms. One thing I didn't mention that I probably should have, I mentioned my stepfather, he had a foreman run this place, and through some of my early teen years, he gave me the opportunity to go there and drive tractors and get some little experience. But when I started, I had never planted any crops in my life. Never been on a planter, never been on a cultivator. But I got my cotton planted, and I got my corn planted, and I got it cultivated, didn't take any out, and we grew a crop. And from there we went on together, and with her help, and she was a city girl, but boy, she jumped in and she became a farm girl, and she was just a peach, assisting me and helped me all the way through. And we needed some more help, and so after I married a couple of years, in '54, we had a son by the name of Bruce born. And then 2 years later, Gregory came aboard. And 2 years after that, Gary came aboard. Now I was getting a good working crew on the ranch. And then, 10 years or 6 years after that, Dale. So I had 4 boys, and as they grew up, they really helped on the ranch. And together, I didn't make Tula Vista Farms. We grew larger, we rented more ground, we acquired a lot more equipment. The boys really helped on the ranch. With the boys coming on, I had the price of milk was just too expensive. So I've got an old Jersey cow, and I throw a bucket of grain in front of her and walk in the pasture and sit down and milk her. And then Gwen would, my boys didn't know really what a cube of butter was, because Gwen made our butter. And it was always served in a crock. They didn't know what Mary Allen jams and jellies. She made our jams and jellies, and we had a beehive, and we robbed for our own honey. And last we had animals around there, so we had our own meat. So I guess we were old McDonald's farm, but we had our garden. And so with her just dedication and the way she worked and helped, that's helped us make our payments. I got a phone call, or if I'd make a meeting at Nielsen's restaurant one morning at 6 o'clock, and so I walked in to it. There was 6 other fellows there, and what happened, Bill Huvel, Continental Moss Gin, had gone to Colusa to their orchard show. And he came back and he thought this would be something Tulare could do with equipment, machinery. He got a hold of Kent Coe, who was chairman of the Ag Expo committee at that time, and Neil Huss Smith. They decided, let's try it, or just talk about it. And so this is the think tank. This wasn't the committee that we say put on a show. This is a think tank. You got to figure all the details out, and et cetera. They presented it to us. We had the chairman of the County Farm Bureau. We had Bob Sulz with Sulz Pump Company. Charlie Quinn was an implement dealer. And myself, I was the farmer. And then where are we going to have it? Well, the city sold the fairgrounds to the state in '66, but maybe we could rent it back for the show. And so a week later we met, and yes, the university, Sheldon Jackson said, yeah, they would cooperate with us and work with us on it, because they were doing it at Colusa. And fair manager said, yeah, we could rent it that time of year. We needed the rain to get the farmers to quit in the field and come to the show. So that'd be a good time. So that's the way we ended up the second week in February, and it's stayed that way from day one. Well, we were working under the chamber, agribusiness committee of the chamber, but the chamber didn't want anything to do with us or that show. Financially, they couldn't do anything. They had no money. Most chambers don't, and they couldn't stick their neck out on it. And it wouldn't be the best publication in the world for the Chamber of Commerce to go belly up because of some stupid farmers in Tulare. Lammy's Big Forklift is a great deal of help to us. I think the Vins noticed the forklift, if I'm not mistaken. There's some implement dealers that noticed forklifts. So we had volunteers Everybody set up committees. We knew we weren't paying anybody. We just get in and volunteer and help. And then that's when you might say the committees got going. We started, and the think tank was something of the past. Yeah, we all of us stayed on as a board with all the volunteers. We put on the first show, and the guys did a great job, and we went on from there. As the years went by, we knew in '76 we were just expanded as far as we could go. You know, Fresno Airport became an international airport. The farm show is the reason that it got turned to international. We had problems back in those early years. International exhibitors wanted to come in, and they had to pay tariff. And then we through the Department of Commerce and et cetera, we got it resolved, and we got the tariff taken off. They could come in and exhibit, and then they had so many days they could be here and then go back out. Or if they sold stuff, they had to pay tariff on what they sold. And that created Ag Center. We had to have an entity to work under. And so we named it Ag Center. We had our board, Ag Center had their board. We ran the farm show, and we set a board up for Ag Center, and they had any activities that they could do, why they do it on their own, you know. But we didn't have to pay taxes on our money because it was a non-profit organization. And we had a pamphlet, a booklet, or clipboards set up that we gave to all our participants the first show. And I had it with me every show we've been down here, but it said at the bottom, participant, California Farm Machinery Show, February 1968, Tulare, California. And that was the name of the first show, and we gave it to all of our participants for that show. And I've had this clipboard with me since that. I kept one for myself, and this is what I've used at every show since the '68 show. So this was the name of the show. One thing I didn't mention that I was real proud of, or had a long time with, meant a lot to me. And I always want to do these things for youth, anything I could with kids. As a young boy, I said I had some people help me out. My father passed away, and they gave me a little assistance and advice, and you kind of like to pay that back. And that's kind of what got me wanting to do things. Through the ag department, they had students there that were good students, but the only thing that got a chance to have track was out at the farm. And we had those years you could hire youth. You didn't have all these regulations and et cetera and blah blah down the line and work permits and et cetera. So I'd give a kid a job during the summer working on my ranch. And they'd pick out the child. They'd pick out the youth. They knew he was good. He was a good student, but he really wanted to. You know, he never had a chance to get out. Kind of like I never when I was a kid. And so each summer I'd take another boy out and give him a job, and he'd help out on the ranch, and he got some experience. And just anything you do to help kids, that was the name of the game. You know, I mean that's the way I always kind of want to repay the community what they did me, and that's the one way I could do it. Well, Chula Vista Farms kept expanding, mainly because of my wonderful wife and my boys. It couldn't have been what it was without my wife and my boys. They're the ones that made it. And I owe everything I have to them, and the way we got Chula Vista Farms and kept it going.